billion series, The Rings of Power's first 2 episodes are now available on Amazon Prime, and I admit that I went into this expecting to hate every moment of it.
What did you say?
So imagine my delight to find out that it's actually just really boring.
What?
Basically, nothing happens over the first 2 hours of this show. If you were watching the vastly superior Fellowship of the Ring, at this point you'd be clutching your heart and hiding your tears as Gandalf had just fallen into the depths of Khazad-dûm with the Balrog. But here we are, just spending the first 2 episodes world building and introducing the characters. Yeah, fucking what, mate? Why would you spend 2 hours world building in a world that has already been built by superior films? You knobwit. $1 billion and you couldn't find a way to get this story moving faster. Cut out a bit of fat, for God's sake. There's almost as much filler here as a Naruto arc. Unless you're just looking for something pretty to put on your second screen, there isn't really going to be a lot here for you. The actors are serviceable, I guess. No one really stood out in stark contrast to the original films. The colors are bright, but it doesn't quite seem to have the same depth as the original film, which is ridiculous when you consider that the Fellowship cost a mere $93 million in comparison. Episode 1 begins with Galadriel, who apparently is the main character of the series, being bullied in Valinor before setting sail to Middle-earth to fight Morgoth, briefly being treated to a bit of fan service in a battle that exists to dunk on the galaxy brains who ask why they didn't just fly the rings to Mordor with the eagles, and with a few seconds of a silhouette of Sauron and the exposition of Galadriel's revenge quest before cutting back to the elves scaling a mountain to reach Icecrown Citadel. There's also a bit of cringe here about the Citadel being so evil that fire doesn't work for heat. The light works just fine though, and they don't extinguish or anything, so okay.
That doesn't make sense.
My God, what is that smell? Oh.
Apparently the fire from Sauron's hands still works just fine though until apparently it doesn't. No time to think about that because they get attacked by a snow troll who throws a big ice ball at them. Probably should have just called it an ice troll, but okay. Now it might be nostalgia, but I still feel like the cave troll from the Fellowship looked much better. This one just looks plastic and fake. Galadriel runs off the sword and is spranged off it like a trampoline and ends up killing the beast, which just looks kind of goofy.
So long, Bowser!
And despite finding evidence of what they've been looking for all along, her troops decide to mutiny on her because they're not getting paid overtime, but really it's just because they are wimps who don't like the cold. We are then introduced to the Harfoots, which are fine, I guess. Girl Frodo eats some berries, and they worry about the stars while a warg watches them. Didn't know that wargs were shy, but okay. Jumping over to the elves, we have...
Harold Elrond.
Wait, did they just say Harold Elrond?
Harold Elrond.
Okay, I know it says Herald, but it sounds like Harold to me, so I'm going to call him that from now on. The forest looks fine, it's very nice and vibrant, but I really don't like these short-haired elves. Galadriel shows some scary symbol to Harold Elrond, who is unimpressed in her silly girl ideas, forcing her to ask to speak to his manager. The manager, who is the king of the elves, decides that he is afraid that looking for the hidden evil might bring about the evil, so he decides to give some of his best warriors a golden parachute retirement in the Undying Lands.
That doesn't make sense.
But okay. Also, Harold talking down to Galadriel doesn't make a lot of sense either, since I think she's like 1,000 years older than him and also his mother-in-law or something, but I'll admit I'm not the biggest lore guy on this one. Jumping over to some original characters, do not steal. We are treated to the best analogy of how milking Tolkien's legacy is going to turn out for Amazon.
What was that? Squirted out of it.
And some spooky foreboding that darkness is returning to the lands of men who were once servants of Morgoth. We are then introduced to Celebrimbor, that's the dude that forges the Rings of Power, and again, he just looks like another lame short-haired elf. Rings of Power really should have taken a page out of Shadow of Mordor's book here, where he actually looks really impressive and powerful.
They sculpt the rock with the respect of one who cares for an aged parent. I've long wanted to see them work.
Bringing us to the strangest part of the episode, where the sky parts to welcome Galadriel to the Undying Lands, but with her brother's revenge quest still firmly in her mind, she decides to jump off the boat and swim across the entire fucking ocean to get back to land. Seriously, what was she thinking here? It would just be a couple 100-mile light paddle across the Sundered Sea.
Not a great plan.
We get a nice little shot of a family of Ents, and they've even got a little baby Groot stump there. The characters look up and watch the sky as a meteor crosses their path as Tyrael has given up his wings and is falling into New Tristram.
We were meant for more than this. To protect the innocent. But if our precious laws bind you all to inaction, then I will no longer stand as your brother. Thus I fell. willingly.
Sorry, I mean to say that Gandalf probably, who won't say anything for the whole season, is discovered by Girl Frodo in the first episode fades to black. And now at this point I was very bored, but I was willing to accept that the first episode is usually pretty slow, but at least they released it together with the second one so I don't have to wait a week to see if it picks up. Spoiler alert, it didn't.
What a twist!
The second episode shows us the intro finally, which fortunately isn't as bad as people said it would be, but it's still no Game of Thrones, which is going to be the main competitor and comparison to the majority of normies who will be watching. For the second time in as many episodes, we are introduced to fire that isn't hot.
It's not hot. Fine.
Huh, maybe they really are trying to be Game of Thrones. They better break out some tits fast if they want people to pay attention. There is a bit of a display of Gandalf's power, which is an obvious reference to the better movies. Harold, Elrond, and Celebrimbor want to build a new forge to make the rings, but they just don't have what it takes. So they head over to see the best friend of all the elves, the Dwarves, who probably tell the dagger ears to stuff a dagger up their asses. And you know what? This is my favorite part. Khazad-dûm looks pretty sweet, the CGI isn't half bad, and my only real issue is that Elrond looks just about a head taller than the Dwarves. He should really be much taller here, I think. Durin is the only person in the show that seems to be giving it their all, as he and Elrond decide to see who is the best pounder in the game. Unfortunately, the silly elfman doesn't have what it takes, and it is revealed that the reason for the dwarf hostility is that Elrond hasn't called in the last 20 years and missed the dwarf's wedding. However, they quickly get over this by enjoying a nice dinner together.
All right, noted. That's just straight up beautiful, by the way.
Meanwhile, Galadriel is on day 2 of her swimming meet, regretting her decisions entirely, but miraculously comes across a shipwreck that has been attacked by a giant sea serpent worm. We get to see some more original characters before they all get eaten by the hungry caterpillar. Worm. We get a bit of a brief cameo of Mount Doom before they were famous, but unfortunately in the soon-to-be evil human lands, spooky tunnels and disappearing people are being investigated as the first orc in the season shows up, if you don't count the first 3 minutes glossing over the first age at the start. There is basically no tension in the scene, and they quickly dispatch him and they take his head as a trophy. There is a bit of a cute scene where probably Gandalf is talking to some bugs and uses them to explain his mission, with a bit of foreshadowing from a spooky Sauron sword. In the final scenes, Galadriel and her new boyfriend are rescued from the ocean, and the dwarfs show off a literal mystery box which has something shiny in it that'll surely solve all the elves' problems.
Oh, what's in the box? What's in the fucking box?
I mean, it's got to be Mithril, right? Like, what else could it be? And we fade to black. And that's it. That's everything you'll get over 2 hours. It's not as bad as it is just slow and boring, and if you strip away all the departure from the established lore and just take it as a generic fantasy show, then I guess it's fine with some potential to get better next week. But everything that happens just far needed to be chopped down to like about 30 minutes of content, or at least the first episode at the absolute maximum, so we could have got some real tension for the second episode. It's not the disaster that I was expecting, but it's barely memorable. I doubt anyone that actually watches it will even remember what happened to it if you ask them in a week or two, and it only cost $1 billion, I guess. Still, it could be worse. Previously on Rings of Power. Absolutely nothing happened and the dialogue was terrible.
If I won't always be here to speak them to you.
You won't?
Elves dying in the undying lands. Was this guy planning to just ditch his sister? Anyway, the episode starts out with the elf character being captured and is enchained by the orcs. Wait a minute, did I skip an episode? With the amount of filler that they have in the show, why didn't they just film the capture scene? We went from this to this. Are you seriously telling me a massive battle just happened off screen between episodes? Why wouldn't you show us this? Guess the script just needed a way to move forward and they couldn't think of a way that the elves could actually lose considering they've shown us this before.
So long, Bowser!
So here we are now. The orcs are building a trench, and they're getting the elves to pay for it. Jumping over to Galadriel and her new boyfriend, who definitely isn't Aragorn and definitely isn't an evil lord, are on the ship, rescued by the Numenorians. And the city is pretty sweet, honestly. This is good. I like this part. Huh, why does not Aragorn look so lovingly at this forge?
Speak, elf.
All we ask is that Numenor continue his mercy and grant us ship's passage to Middle-earth.
It's been generations since a ship of Númenor was permitted to make such a journey on an elf's behalf.
It is because of the elves that you were given this island. Surely you can spare a few planks and a rudder.
Why is Galadriel acting like this? She's completely insufferable. She's a prisoner here and she has no sword to double jump off. What exactly is she trying to accomplish here? Read the fucking room. Elves are supposed to be old, wise, and graceful, but she's throwing out lines like the worst RPG dialogue wheel option. I'm not even sure why she's even asking for a boat. Wasn't she just planning on swimming back? Over on the sea, a Isildur is now introduced, and that's this guy if you're wondering who that is.
Cast it into the fire! Destroy it! No. You see, dude?
He has a hot sister, by the way.
Wow, he's very nice.
That's probably not that important to the story, but it's the first time the show actually drew my attention to the second screen. Isildur's dad is exposed as an confirmed elf lover.
In the ancient tongue of the Eldar, it can also mean elf friend.
Then are you an elf friend?
I'm a loyal servant of Numenor.
And we get a sweet shot of the distance that Galadriel was planning to swim. Back with the orcs, the elves are trying to devise a plan of escape, but oh no, there's a tree in the way. Trees good, orcs bad. And elves like trees, so elves good. Cutting down even a single tree is literally heresy, apart from the fact that elves actually use wood in construction like literally everybody else in Middle-earth. But smart elfman uses this opportunity to get a look at the land before he is forced to chop down his tree girlfriend. Galadriel continues to be insufferable to literally everyone, but she was just lucky to be rescued by the one man in Numenor who has dagger ear fever, and they go out on a ride to the library, and we get this really strange slow motion shot. Not even sure why this is here at all, but I guess at least people will stop asking Galadriel to smile more. Not Aragorn tries to get a job at the forge. Unfortunately, it's a union job, so he goes to grab lunch. Wait, are my eyes deceiving me? Is that a fucking CGI muscle? Did they actually digitally enhance shellfish? Did they just not have any available? Why would you do this? Some grumpy men almost start a fight, but he notices their union badges and decides to buy them all a drink. What a nice bearer of gifts he turns out to be. So friendly, and not at all evil. Oh, and he takes the badge. But Sargon of Akkad notices this and they come to beat him up.
Personally, I find racist jokes funny.
Which is honestly getting off easy, to be honest. He should really be losing his hand here, and the CGI blood looks like total crap. He easily defeats the group of 4 men because they were too stupid to realize that he's actually Sauron in disguise. Oops, I mean he's Halbrand. What am I saying? That would be crazy to think that. He's Halbrand until the twist is revealed. And speaking of twists, it turns out that the Mark of Sauron is actually a map of Mordor.
It is a map of the Southlands. It is as Halbrand said.
What a twist!
Apparently there was a plan B in place if Morgoth ever failed, written in Sauron's diary, I guess, but for some reason nobody ever read this and they just decided to put it in the library where the heroes could find it later. However, all the orcs know exactly what it means because apparently tunneling creatures that rarely travel above ground and melt in the sun are amazing landscape cartographers. Hey, you know who we haven't seen yet this episode? The Harfoots. This ought to be good. Right in the middle of their Pyramid Head festival, they talk about the one rule for their society. No one goes off trail and nobody walks alone. Unfortunately, Girl Frodo's dad still has a sprained ankle from the last episode and is big worried about being abandoned. You see, they are a nomadic race and they have carts with wheels, but apparently if you don't keep up, you are just shit out of luck. Nobody walks alone, unless you walk a bit too slow. Helping your neighbor in a gathering society? Not bloody likely, Sonny Jim. Jesus, get a load of this society. What happens if someone is pregnant or goes into labor during the migration? Tough luck, I guess. You leave them for the kawaii wolves. And what if like some kid's parents dies, like they actually show happened to Girl Sam? And what about babies? Just leave them in the woods? What is the point of being in this tribe? Isn't this exactly the opposite of how tribes work?
Doesn't anyone notice this? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills!
The Harfoots make a big deal of remembering the people that fall behind and writing their names out in a big book and everyone chants, "We wait for you," which is exactly what they don't do. If you don't set your time trial on this migration, you're dead, kiddo. Wizardman sneaks into the camp to use the fire to look at the star map. Unfortunately, he learns that he's a Sagittarius and promptly sets his star chart on fire, which actually makes sense because this is the first time in the show that fire has been hot and actually burned something. You know, the one thing that fire is kind of known for. He exposes himself in front of the little people and he may have to register as an SO, but her family ends up being punished by this by moving their cart to the back, which is apparently a death sentence because the cart at the back almost always fall behind. Wow, glad I live in this wonderful Harfoot society instead of the mean world of men they are hiding from, who live in smelly villages and don't throw people to the kawaii wolves if they're too slow. There is also like a subplot about Isildur's sister going to college while he takes a gap year from being a seaman or something, but I wasn't really paying attention here because I'm still stunned by the stupidity of Harfoot society. Anyway, Galadriel goes to prison to try and convince not Aragorn, Halbrand, that he's actually the king in disguise. Hey, that's just like Aragorn from the Fellowship. Story writers do good reference, right, me lord? Galadriel thinks that she can convince the Numenorians into becoming an army for them. Nothing wrong could backfire here, surely not. Back to the Harfoots, we just see how sadistic they really are by having fatty Girl Sam, who is an orphan, carrying her own cart, and not Frodo's family trying to pull the cart with a broken foot or whatever. But fortunately for them, Wizardman, who Amazon could not legally call Gandalf because they did not own the rights, that is now friends and he offers to help. Even though this doesn't make any sense whatsoever because the entire tribe of Harfoots literally think he's an evil human, and this is why they almost got exiled from the tribe in the first place. For the final scene of the episode, the elves are making their escape.
That's gotta hurt! It's gotta hurt!
And challenge the orcs to a squid game for freedom. But Hero Elf literally steps off his homie's chains to double jump to defeat them. The orcs providing them a trampoline to do so was a really bad move on their part, but they are stupid in the lore, so there is that until...
Release the warg!
Look at this dude. No.
This can't be real. I was being so kind about how pretty Numenor looked this episode until they break out this ugly Sonic abomination.
You want me to go fast? That's Sonic's thing. Ugly Sonic goes slow.
This is now the third different image of wargs we have in Lord of the Rings, and even though the original trilogy's ones were pretty badly animated as well, at least they look better than this. Even The Hobbit had better wargs. Just make them look like the Shadow of Mordor Caragals or something. They failed to escape, and the episode's title, Adar, begins slowly walking. Wait, did they say something about Adar being an elven name? Adar almost emerges from the background blur, and we almost can see his elf ears for a second as we cut to black. On a cliffhanger. Could this be Sauron? Nope, it's going to be a red herring. Evil elf or something, but next week this is who they're going to want to make you think is Sauron so they can set up that epic twist. But if Adar isn't Sauron, then who could it be? Wait a minute. We didn't even see Elrond, Celebrimbor, or the best characters, the Dwarves, this entire episode. In fact, basically nothing happened in this episode as well. A battle happened off screen apparently, and we now have even more characters. But come on, we are 3 episodes and hours into this already. When is this going to pick up? You realize that after next week's episode, we're going to be halfway through the series, right? And subscribe if you don't want to fall behind and get eaten by the Kawaii Wolves. Previously on Rings of Power.
Nobody goes up faith.
And nobody walks alone.
The Harfoots then proceed to not wait for them, forcing them to walk alone. We are now halfway through the first season. The writers have realized that basically nothing has happened so far, so they start the episode off with a bang. The sea, who is always right,
The sea is always right.
deciding to commit treason against the other sea, but it turns out to be a spooky dream, awakening to find her sheets thoroughly wet. But at least it's a beautiful day for racism.
Elf ships on our shore. Elf workers taking your trades.
They took our jibs.
Which makes Abigail Shapiro sad.
The queen's either blind or an elf lover.
Hey, this show is stealing my jokes from the last installment.
And are you an elf friend?
I'm a loyal servant of Numenor.
Rasputin shows up to throw more fuel on the fire, and he literally had 10 glasses of wine available, which is absolutely enough for this crowd of 100 people. He was just walking through the market. Did he know that someone was going to have an angry speech, so he prepared drinks for them and showed up? Or does he always have drinks following around for just such the occasion? This doesn't make any sense at all.
Well, whenever you notice something like that, a wizard did it.
I see, all right, yes. But in episode AG4...
Galadriel demands that the Queen Regent give all her resources to fight a war in another country. The Queen, in a perfectly reasonable decision, says no. Galadriel doesn't like this and demands to speak to the manager.
That I might present my proposal to one who holds the authority to answer it.
Lady Galadriel, that is quite
And with
enough.
what authority do you speak, elf?
There is a tempest in me. It swept me to this island for a reason. And it will not be quelled by you, Regent.
There is a tempest in me, so because she's angry, she has the authority to demand people fight and die for her? This delusional facsimile of Galadriel ought to be thrown in prison for this. Oh, fucking based. Isildur, who wants to take his gap year, almost kills his friends by playing silly buggers with the ropes on the high seas. Like, don't fuck around with the seas, it's always right.
The sea is always right.
He is fired for this, but he also gets his mate fired, who are justifiably angry.
Same old as Seal walking away.
Phew, look at that. Continuity established. The lore is saved. Well done, writers. Adar escapes from the Boca to reveal he isn't Sauron, surprising no one. But what does surprise me is that all the orcs look like they're wearing garbage bags. But at least we get to see Ugly Sonic / Ed from The Lion King again. Adar is worshipped by the orcs for some unexplained reason, and he releases Arendor to go tell the humans that they need to serve him or die. But this is really because they needed Arendor to escape from the orcs, but couldn't figure out a good way to explain it. The Southlanders then arrive at the Firewatch Tower, but only brought 5 potatoes to feed 100 people.
Where's the rest? That is the rest.
Theo suggested they go back to the town and get the food. Why didn't they just take all the food when they left?
the Elven Tower at first light.
Dumbasses. The two boys sneak into the town to be heroes. Billy is afraid. Theo isn't because he has his lightsaber. Just wait a second, it's going to make sense. Theo goes into the bar to grab handfuls of grain instead of, say, one of those slaughtered sheep that we saw a moment ago, and the clouds become spooky, which means it's time for an action scene.
Where'd you get that?
See, I told you it was a lightsaber, but it's edgy. Wait, how the fuck did he know that this would work? I mean, sure, he saw it use blood to grow a bit longer in an earlier episode, but you expect me to believe that because of this, he's trusting his life to the assumption that if he gets in trouble with it, he can poke his own arm with the hilt of the sword and trust it'll grow fast enough to use it as a proper weapon.
Not a great plan.
The hilt turns out to be exactly what the orcs are actually looking for. Well, that's convenient. Theo hides in the well, which is so dumb at this point that my brain is hemorrhaging, but it gets dumber still as the orc hears the voice in the well and then goes back to his NPC patrol path. It's been like 3 days or something at this point, so the tower is halfway finished, which is good, I guess, but Celebrimbor is big sad because he hasn't seen Durin in a while. Durin, as the Dwarven prince, obviously couldn't have any other responsibilities, so this must be suspicious, which means we're back to Khazad-dûm, which I have no problem with. I like the Dwarven kingdom. The only bad part is that we have to listen to the dialogue.
You know, Disa, there is no secret worth concealing with deception.
There is no secret worth concealing with deception. It's a secret, you Mimbo Vulcan. They so desperately want their show to sound deep. Elrond critical rolls his deception check and sees through the lie that Durin is 2 days' climb away.
If Durin is mining quartz, why would he leave without taking his chiseling axe?
The Dwarven children are always off screen in this episode for some reason, so I can only assume that they ADR'd them in later.
Gerda, I'm warning you! Gerda, stop hitting your brother! Well, knock it off.
You're always just one room away, huh?
I guess the kids were only on set for the one day and they forgot to film the secret password nursery rhyme scene. Disa's lie is immediately discovered because she takes a walk with Durin, and they talk about the secrets of the old mind. Elrond uses his elf eyes to see this, and of course he lip reads what they were saying from halfway across Khazad-dûm, proceeding directly to the most valuable secret the dwarves have. No guards are posted, literally unlike anywhere else in the mines, and he immediately guessed the password was the old song the children were singing.
Rich crone, kiss the stone, polish your gems and gold.
Well, that's convenient. At least let him try something like password 123 or 420 gold digger 69 or something before he gets it. Durin catches him and accuses the elf, which is totally reasonable because he's literally spying on them. Think about this for a second. This is like you haven't seen an old friend for years, and the first time you go over to their house, you start looking through their internet's history, claiming that you're just doing this because you're trying to be a good friend. Anyway, the mystery box contained Mithril, like I said in part 1 of this review, and Durin hands it over to Elrond despite its value because Elrond has been such a great friend all these years. That's handy. He'll be able to show that to Celebrimbor later. Maybe they could use it in the construction of some sort of rang of power? The mountain has a tummy ache, and 4 short beard dudes get stuck. Back to our favorite character, Galadriel. She still hasn't sat down for once in the entire show, because it goes against everything she stands for. Sauron Halbrand gives her a sneaky speech about being sneaky. Galadriel, being only thousands of years old at this point, doesn't understand.
You do well to identify what it is that your opponent most fears.
And exploit it.
No.
And needs Halbrand to explain it to her like she's 5.
And you give yourself a moment to think.
Cease comparing me to a horse.
Alright, just wait a second. I need to fix this line before we continue.
Cease comparing me to a
mouse.
Galadriel gets literally the very thing she asked for the moment she didn't sit down in Númenor.
You are to be shipped back to the elves.
This makes her angry.
What do you want? What do you want?
It's not that simple.
What do you want? God damn it. What do you want?
And then this happens. God damn, this show is embarrassing. She Assassin's Creeds her way all the way up to the tower and fights the king, and once again is offered exactly the thing she asked for, instead of, you know, being executed for breaking and entering and for all they know attempting to assassinate the king of Númenor. The queen doesn't call for the guards, however, and they talk about spooky ball Palantir, and you know what? This effect is really cool. I like it. This is the only time I'll say something nice about this episode. Anyway, back to the soggy bottom boy, who is still in the well and has been there all day. It is now night and the orcs are looking for him, which is kind of weird because I think orcs have better vision at night, you know, since they live underground. But he uses this cover of darkness to try and make his video game escape, avoiding the enemy patrols until he gets caught, at which point Arondir shows up to just the right time to save him. Oh, that's why they let him go at the start of the show. Sad music plays, implying that somebody isn't making out alive. They then make it out alive because the Sun Axe Macula comes out at just the right moment, while the Orcs simultaneously forget they have bows and arrows, but fortunately they notice this in post and we get as many as 4 arrows fired because they realize how stupid this scene looked. Back to the Watchtower. Old spooky man name drops Sauron and gives us a bit of foreboding.
Have you heard of him, lad? Have you heard of Sauron?
And we now know that the Orcs are on their way to retrieve the MacGuffin Blade. Oh, look at that. Galadriel once again refusing to sit down. I mean, this kind of does make sense at this point given the size of the stick up her ass. The Queen takes a walk, but then...
Look, Sakuras!
This convinces her to send her armies to the south. Nothing can go wrong here. And Isildur decides to go along. Hey, wait a minute, we didn't see the Harfoots at all this episode. Like we didn't see the elves and the dwarves last one. I guess they just have to skip one of the storylines every episode because there's just so much content packed into this show, there is no room for it anywhere else. Subscribe if you want to find out if Galadriel ever takes a seat.
Take a seat, young
mouse.
Previously on Rings of Power, Elrond swears an oath to never reveal the existence of Mithril. He will then take it out of his pocket and tell everybody that he can't tell them anything about the secret Mithril that he has found.
quickly enough to saturate every last elf.
We rejoin Girl Frodo and perhaps Gandalf enjoying some French culture. He can talk now, I guess.
Snails, yeah.
So that's neat. He still hasn't told us his name though, because he's not supposed to be in this age. Just let the audience decide it's Gandalf and you don't need to worry about it. Hey, look at that. That looks like an abandoned Harfoot cart. You just know that that was obviously left there without any help from the tribe, because anyone that falls behind immediately just is thrown to the wolves.
Wolves.
Also, they could have just clearly gone around their swamp, but don't think about it. What are you worried about? The landscape looks good though, and Girl Sam sings us the song of her people. Oh snap, is that a new character? Feminem has just arrived at the crap where it's probably Gandalf fell from the sky. I guess the implication here is that he is Sauron, which I guess it could be since Sauron does have many forms, but Sauron's busy buying people drinks in Númenor, so that doesn't make a lot of sense at all. So who could this be? Adar, or Adar, I can't remember which, does a bit of sun gazing and reveals his plan to blow up the sun.
I shall miss it. Soon it will be gone.
Or I guess it could mean that he just wants to erupt Mount Doom and cover the world in ash or something, but I don't know, I like my theory better. He also shows us that orcs are indeed vampires, and now they melt in the sun. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but this was never the case. Orcs don't really like the sun and they feel pain in it, but it never made them get 3rd-degree sunburns like this for being outside for more than a few seconds. Hey, I guess today I just learned that I'm an orc apparently. Well, fuck the sun.
I call this enemy the sun. Since the beginning of time, man has yearned to destroy the sun.
Back at the One Tower, Dr. Quinn, herbalist woman, is now the leader or something, so she rallies the people that only brought 5 potatoes to feed the entire village to stand and fight the orcs. But the bartender says no, he doesn't want to serve no stinking elves, and quits to go join another elf that he thinks is Sauron.
Not a great plan.
Back in Numenor, Hal Sauronbrand is now a guildsman. Wait, when did that happen? It took him like 2 days to get a badge, but isn't there like some rigorous process? He just went and has one now? He just went and stole the badge off screen again, didn't he? Shouldn't this take like weeks if not months? Halbrand pretends to be angry that Galadriel got him ships and an army to go to the south.
But I have just convinced Númenor to send 5 ships to aid your people and place a crown upon your head. Many might as soon use me.
Galadriel must have gotten dehydrated that time she tried to swim across the ocean because the thirst is real. The Harfoots are getting hungry and blame the tall wizard man and suggest that they steal the Brandyfoot's wheels.
Take their wheels and leave them.
Wait, this is America! I have rights!
Which means leaving them to die in the woods. But they also come across some kawaii wolf tracks. Yes, that spooky scene from their first episode is about to pay off. Actually, these wolves aren't KY at all. What? Just have them be boars or something if you don't want to use wolves. What on Middle Earth is going on in this show? It really has to be Gandalf defeats the KY jelly wolves.
How can you stop? How can you stop?
But he pays the ultimate price.
Wanker's cramp, the most deadly of British diseases.
Galadriel is worried that the Numenorians have never fought an orc before. She remedies this by telling them to poke them with the pointy end of the sword. And Galadriel also delivers again the episode's quote of a cringe with a sword fight that wouldn't look out of place in a Bollywood kino. She also takes this opportunity to molest this dude.
Don't plant roots. Keep moving.
Isildur's trainee friend that had almost graduated from Seaman Academy last episode was fired after his shenanigans, but because he was able to cut Galadriel's dress a little bit, he is now promoted to a command position.
Well done, Lieutenant.
That doesn't make sense.
Anyway, Wizard Man has found the cure to Wanker's cramp. So her hand is just gone here, right? Extreme frostbite or like just shattering or something, right? Surely there is no recovering with this hand at this point, right? Look at that. She's totally fine. Finally, we get to see the only character I like, Durin.
Typically takes you people weeks just to decide to take a shit.
If I may.
And they have a sneaky discussion about what the elves and the dwarves are up to. Durin tells the king that he made his table out of a tombstone, so Gil-galad promises that he can take it home. Good scene, honestly. The king tells Elrond that because a video game Balrog and an elf fought on a tree, it created Mithril, which is no longer just a really good metal, it contains the light of the Cimmerals or something, stealing the plot of a superior TV show, The Dark Crystal: Age of Resistance. He further explains that the darkening is covering the land.
And now our world is at risk from the darkening.
What is the darkening?
And that he tried to send Galadriel away to stop it, which makes no sense whatsoever. But the king asks about the Mithril. Elrond had promised not to tell about the Mithril, so he tells the king, I promise that I could never talk about the exact thing that you're asking me about because I saw it.
Did the dwarves find the ore or not?
I swore an oath to Durin.
Oh, I'm sorry. I can't divulge information about that customer's secret, illegal account. Oh crap, I shouldn't have said it was a secret.
You fucking what, mate? You just lawyered your way out of your oath to your alleged friend and confirmed everything to the king.
It's too hot today.
And then he takes out the very item he was just questioned about and takes a look at it while everyone is still in the room. God damn you daggy ears. I was wondering why every other race in the show hated the elves when I first started watching, but I'm totally on board with it now. Fuck them. Back in Númenor, Isildur gets punched in the very same set that Halbrand was. Good to see that this small indie company working on a budget are making good use of their limited funds.
So, you'll bring me on the ship. Sorry, Isil.
Say the line!
The sea is always right.
The sea is always right!
The sea is always right!
With nepotism and abusing your friendships to try and achieve what you want in life failing, Isildur is forced to sneak onto the ship, but Rasputin's son tries to burn down that very boat, which doesn't make a lot of sense at all since everyone in Numenor seems to want to go. Even his own father told him a sneaky reason to do so. Literally the only person in the show that doesn't want the ships to go at this point is Isildur's sister, so I can only ascertain that the son has two reasons for committing boat treason.
Awooga! Objectifying!
Anyway, this causes two boats to blow up somehow, so they need to decide whether or not to go on the voyage with 3 ships instead of 5. Elrond, now completely forgetting his oath, is talking to Celebrimbor about Mithril.
Mithril. Now our people are doomed unless I break an oath.
Unless you break an oath? You just broke the oath 3 times over, you silly git. So apparently, the light of the Valinor now shines in the Mithril, which will prevent the elves from diminishing if they all take enough colloidal true silver supplements or something. Wait, come again?
I came.
This is just fanfiction tier writing at this point. The Southlanders that abandon the elves arrive to pledge their allegiance to Sauron, only to find it's another elf.
I pledge my loyalty to Sauron.
You are Sauron, are you not?
Are you serious?
Oh no, looks like it worked out bad for them. How sad. The Southlanders that stayed at the One Tower are now preparing for battle. They couldn't remember to bring any food, but apparently they have enough weapons to go around. Makes sense. Theo reveals the MacGuffin blade to Arondir, who recognizes the blade because the wall they are standing next to happens to have an exact copy of the story engraved on the wall. Apparently it's also a keyblade or something now too, so that'll be a dumb plot point in a future episode to laugh at. And they plan to blow up the One Tower when the orcs arrive.
And when they march upon us, this tower will fall.
Durin exposes himself as an absolute Chad by revealing that the tombstone table story was a lie and he just wanted to steal it.
This has been wanting a new table for years, so...
Fucking based.
Give me the meat, and give it to me raw.
In the final scenes, we see Halbrand has reluctantly decided to go to Middle-earth with the Numenorians, as everyone triumphantly boards the ships on a grand expedition, which means that the ending of this episode accomplished the very same thing as the last episode did. Seriously, what a waste of time. Last episode, they triumphantly decided to go to Middle-earth, only to think about it for another day and then triumphantly go to Middle-earth.
Well,
That's just lazy writing.
Can't wait to see what they accomplish next week. Oh, that's bad. Previously on Rings of Power.
But I have just convinced Númenor to place a crown upon your head. Many might assume you use me.
We rejoin Adar doing a spot of gardening, even though he is an evil elf that is planning to blow up the sun. Everybody needs a hobby. Cool glove though. He then gives a rousing speech to his troops as they march on the fortifications of the Watchtower, which even has a little bridge built into it that could funnel opponents into a tight area. Perhaps we should, I don't know, defend this location? No. Let's leave the door unlocked, as Arendir is preparing his inside job to destroy the one tower while everyone else escapes. The battle begins by him giving away his position just to screw with these two orcs in particular, wasting time before his real plan. To shoot this... Wait, what? Rope doesn't burn that fast, but okay, so this will surely spring their trap that's built into the tower, right?
Nope.
What the fuck am I looking at? You're telling me that this one rope was holding this entire tower together? That's not how towers work. That's not how rope works. That's not how fire works. That's not how any of this works. Hasn't this tower been here for like 1,000 years or something? Was it just built like Jenga blocks? Adar is a cool man, so he just stands there and dodges all the rubble. Fortunately, the tower falls in just the right way to take out at least 50 orcs out of the hundreds or thousands or whatsoever. So that's neat. I mean, it gave the townspeople time to escape.
How long do we have?
Not long enough. Come on. We have to make ready the village.
Wait, what? They're returning to the village? You fucking what? Mate, why are you going back to the village? Okay, so the plan was abandon the village because you can't defend it from the orcs. Go up to a well-defended tower that has a narrow, defensible bridge that you could have just destroyed the bridge instead of the tower so that you could have, made it more defensible. Then walk back down to the village and defend it from the orcs. What?
Not a great plan.
How did they even get back down from the tower? Isn't there just one narrow road that leads up to it that all the orcs were climbing? How come the orcs take all night to get there and they just teleport back to the village? Moving on. The Numenorians are traveling across the sea in 3 small ships that could carry approximately 20 people, but apparently it has room for hundreds of men, horses, supplies, and of course, Galadriel's ego, and they're sailing through the night. Isildur gets up to visit his cutie GF and share an apple.
Boy, let me tell you, I sure do love apples.
Eat all those apples, you're gonna get a wicked bad tummy ache.
Galadriel can apparently see around the globe because she can already see land with her elf eyes. Wait, does that mean? Actually, you know what? Middle-earth might actually be flat, but I'm not the biggest lore guy, so... Moving on. Unfortunately, Isildur's mother apparently drowned, but since the sea is always right... The sea is always right! I can only assume that this was the correct thing to happen, and they're happy about it. Arendir tries to destroy the MacGuffin blade, but he realizes that they stole the properties of the One Ring.
The ring cannot be destroyed by any craft that we here possess.
It is beyond our skill to destroy.
Well, that's just lazy writing.
Our position gives us an advantage, but to use it, we must draw the enemy in close.
Our position gives us an advantage? No, it doesn't. You know what gives an advantage? Castle walls, bridges to funnel people into, and the high ground.
It's over, Anakin! I have the high ground! You underestimate my power!
Thatched roof village houses, one torch lands on this and everyone's going up in smoke. How did this script get past literally anyone with 2 brain cells to rub together?
This is to be our keep.
You know what would have made a great keep? The keep that you abandoned to go back to where you fled from.
Doesn't anyone notice this? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills! Take heart. I have seen smaller armies defeat greater foes. Do you believe it?
How is it that I am more inspired by the bad guy's speech than this soggy excuse for a rallying cry?
Not as unnamed slaves in faraway lands, but as brothers and sisters in our home.
Do you believe it? Do you believe it?
No. Hidden from private eyes, Arendir puts his seed into Bronwyn's hand, as it is a tradition to garden before every battle. Everybody needs a hobby after all. But oh no, the orcs have arrived. Hey, look at that. The orcs have a cute little appropriately sized battering ram. It's no big black grond, but it's not the size, it's how you use it. I'm told. Bronwyn has some performance issues starting her fire to launch the trap, so she does the next best thing, just kill an orc and steal his fire. Although her friend just straight up dies for this, but the trap is sprung.
Pew, 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 pew. They're headed for the tavern.
Oh no, it's time for a boss battle.
Run.
They're breakdance fighting!
Bigman Orc throws Arendir into various scenery instead of just, snapping his neck. Then squirts chocolate sauce all over his face before he is saved by Bronwyn. But the first battle is over.
Did it, Patrick! We saved the city!
But wait, that's not chocolate sauce at all. It's strawberry jam. And that means...
we're fighting our own.
What a twist!
You know what? I actually like this bamboozle. With my quota of saying one nice thing about every episode fulfilled,
had to pay the toll.
The Southlanders learn that they should have just used their day's head start to run away, but it's too late now, so they retreat to their keep and barricade the door. Instead of just burning down the tavern, bursting in the windows, or cutting down the walls, the orcs try to break down the lightly blocked door. Good news, everyone. The Numenorians are on their way. They're only like 2 days away or something, and riding as fast as their ponies can carry them, which is strange because they have no idea that the battle is currently going on. It's almost like they were just doing it to have a tense scene invoking the Riders of Rohan. Adar has shown up and he wants the MacGuffin blade, and he's not playing silly buggers at all this time, as they immediately start poking Peeps in the tummy very slowly. Arendor has hidden the blade though, and there is no way he'll reveal, oh wait, never mind, it's just underneath their feet. Somehow, when the tavern was full of townspeople, he was able to sneak in and hide it under the floor without anyone but Theo knowing about it. Wait, how did he do that? Don't think about it. What are you worried about? Has anyone else noticed just how quickly it goes from night to day and vice versa when the plot demands it? This is like the third time they've done these weird switches throughout the series. Anyway, the Southlanders had their instant messages and location sharing turned on this whole time because the Numenorians have arrived in the exact right spot at the exact right time. The prisoners, who were completely helpless and slowly getting their tummies poked just a moment before, now easily overpower their captors. Somehow. The orcs have forgotten their weakness to the sun, so they rush out to battle in broad daylight.
I'll try spinning. That's a good trick.
Isildur, who was just a stable boy all this time, has somehow become part of the Queen's Guard, and she gives him permission to go fight. She sends just him though. Okay, so that happens and he arrives just in time to not save his dad. Thanks, Saragon. Adar tries to escape, but Galadriel is on the case.
Galadriel.
No, Theo, don't fall for the dagger ears. We don't need another
elf lover
in this show. Now, Adar has left the town first. Galadriel is chasing closely behind him, and Halbrand left after her, which means they are both behind him. No, wait, he just teleports in front of Adar somehow and kills his horse by breaking its legs.
'Tis but a scratch. I've heard worse. Come on, you pansy.
Now, I like ponies as much as the next guy. Well, I mean, maybe not as much as Isildur, but they're alright. I want the horse to be fine. But this is a one-way ticket to the glue factory, if I've ever seen one.
You remember me?
No.
Stop! We need him alive.
Galadriel stops Halbrand from killing Adar, which is reasonable, but I'm just mentioning it because I want you to remember it. Look how perfectly reasonable and merciful she truly is. We get a quick flashback to Icecrown Citadel as Adar explains what happened to Sauron.
I killed Sauron.
I do not believe you.
Galadriel threatens to torture Adar's children by melting them in the sun. She says this is okay because they are slaves, and Adar says that they have names. Then she says that she will kill Adar after she kills every last one of his children, but then she gets angry and is about to kill him out of rage. Isn't this like a war crime or something?
I will whisper in your piked ear that all your offspring are dead. You slavering orc.
Galadriel.
Are we the baddies?
Who are you?
Halbrand and Galadriel share a tender moment, and they look like they're about to kiss, which is going to be incredibly funny when the Sauron reveal comes.
Is it true? Are you the king we were promised?
No.
Yes.
Hey, the king's back.
Everyone celebrates a job well done, everyone is okay, and everything is accounted for.
So what do you think?
I like the mountains. We're about to get a closer look at them.
Except for...
What a twist!
Wait, no. In the last episode, I called this a Keyblade. Previously on Rings of Power. Apparently it's also a Keyblade or something now too, so that'll be a dumb plot point in a future episode to laugh at. didn't mean like an actual keyblade. I thought there was meant in a metaphorical sense. The key to control. Wait, what? So the tower is really a dam and the key opens the floodgates. Why wouldn't you just have a lever for something like that? The elves built this tower, right? Why would Sauron's blade unlock it? That doesn't make any sense. Anyway, the water pours down and wait. Just while editing this, I noticed that if this was the plan all along, why didn't the orcs just break open the floodgates when they were at the tower last night? If the gates are invincible, why didn't they just dig some more holes like they did everywhere across Mordor? This is beyond dumb. Okay, so this is the plan. The water goes through all the tunnels and it pours into Mount Doom, which causes an explosive expansion or something and restarts its eruption. You fucking what? Mate.
I like the mountains. We're about to get a closer look at him. That's gotta hurt! It's gotta hurt!
Galadriel, what are you doing? Do something. Run. Shield your face. Sit down. It might be your last chance. Do something. Look at the fire, Galadriel. Those trees are being incinerated and people are getting vaporized. At least shield your face. Pyroclastic flows are like 700 degrees Celsius or something. What the hell am I watching? This episode has got to be the stupidest one yet. I'm almost convinced they're doing this on purpose at this point. But I guess at least Galadriel's dead now, so she can finally take a seat in hell. Nope, actually she's going to be fine next week. No Harfoots or raw meat boys this week? Subscribe if you want to see next week's episode, provided I'm not admitted to a sanitarium for trying to make sense of what I'm watching. Previously on Rings of Power. If only that was what really happened. We rejoin Galadriel after surviving a 700-degree pyroclastic flow to the face. She is completely fine though, apart from the danger of looking like she could be at any moment eaten by Nikado Avocado.
Cheetos! Excuse me, we have to make some room for the Cheetos. Out your way you go.
But damn, look at those houses. Everyone inside them must have been vaporized, but what if you were outside the house? Totally fine apparently.
Are you hurt? Stay with me.
Isildur, who isn't listening to me, decides to make the bad mistake of going inside a house, which gives him a big fiery hug. Isildur! Guess he's dead. Now this really is the problem for prequels in that you know that certain characters can't die, and so it just doesn't really build up any tension in the show. The Harfoots are back this week, everyone, and Mount Doom's explosion hit these 5 apple trees in particular, which means the no-shoes are doomed.
We're doomed!
Not the 5 apple trees, their whole society depends on it. The Harfoots did see Big Wizard Man slap the ground once.
How can you slap? How can you slap?
This means he can heal the trees, and it's a good idea for him to try. Now, unless they thought that slapping people is medicine, I'm not sure how this was a good idea. Anyway, it works. But oh no. Oh, look at that. He did exactly what they asked him to do, but because a child got in his way and a branch fell, this means he's a bad guy again. God damn, do I hate these soulless midgets. You know, because they've got no shoes. Soulless. Moving on. The elves tried to buy Mithril from the Dwarven king, and he asked a very good question.
Tell me, why should we trust any elf?
I never made a promise I didn't.
Well, I mean, apart from the last time we saw Elrond, where he breaks his oath to Durin immediately.
I will not risk dwarven lives to help the elves cheat death. I am sorry, my son, but their time has come.
I am honestly quite shocked by the Dwarven king. He's making perfect sense, unlike anyone else in this show. The king poses a very good point that
the fate of the elves was decided many ages ago by minds much wiser, much farther seeing than our own.
But Durin doesn't like the idea of his friend dying. Fortunately, there is a solution, as they can all go to the Undying Lands. Apparently, Gil-galad can just grant people passage to the place where they can all live forever, like he did with Galadriel, and they don't really want to be in Middle-earth anyway, so what's the problem? Reasons. This will never be brought up in the show again, so that's why we get the spooky goo tree. There is a very tearful goodbye, even though if Elrond will still die one day, he will almost certainly outlive Durin, which makes Durin cry for some reason, and then he slides the Mithril across the table, leaving near the darkening leaf, and it cures the black goo immediately and forever, which poses a question. Do they need to just touch the Mithril once in a while to survive, or walk through a Mithril door or something? Seems like they really don't need that much of it at all. Hey, but what do I know about cause and effect? Back in Mordor, Isildur's dad spots his girlfriend. That's the one with the scar on it, by the way, but his son is nowhere to be found. The queen is brought to him, but unfortunately, They didn't even bother to clear the ash that fell on Isildur despite knowing exactly where he was because they saw it. Well, I mean, the Queen didn't see it because she's blind now. This is important.
How much further until we're clear of this smoke? How long have we been clear of it?
Nearly a mile.
I see.
But not really though, because she's blind. And with no one around to watch, Galadriel makes Theo a man.
Perhaps we can make one of you yet.
Could be Gandalf is kicked out of the Harfoot village for actions of other peoples, which is sad. Wait, did Girl Frodo always have a little sister? It's really hard to follow this show sometimes because it's so uninteresting, but surely I'm not the only person that never noticed it before, right? Okay, so Theo and Galadriel are lost in the woods, which doesn't make sense because everyone was in a small undefendable village last episode, but now everyone is separated? How? I mean, she walks right through the middle. We saw it at the beginning of the episode. The village didn't get swept away by a giant tornado and placed somewhere else. The only logical reason that Galadriel and Theo are alone is that she led them away from the group on purpose for a taste of man flesh.
Looks like meat's back on the menu, boys.
She confirms her thirst by stating that her husband is dead.
And my husband.
Husband?
Celeborn was his name.
Wait, what? Isn't that like this guy?
Tell me, where is Gandalf? For I much desire to speak with him.
Now, again, I'm not the biggest lore guy, but this guy and Galadriel have a daughter, right, that marries Elrond? How can he be dead? Is she just like really slow pregnant right now or something? Or is the daughter born and she just never cared to notice or mention her?
Tell me, where is
Galadriel, for I much desire child support payments.
Galadriel is so much better than everyone that even in her own backstory, she explains that her man was too silly to put on his armor. Are they trying to make her as insufferable as possible? It seems like the only explanation sometimes. Also, I kind of thought that the orcs could see in the dark or something. Do they really need these torches? Maybe they're just hot and it's that evil fire they're using to cool off with. Who can say? Back in Khazad-dûm, Elrond and Durin are sneaky mining, and Elrond gives a dwarf advice on how to mine.
We need to give the rocks time to resettle.
What, mate? Anyway, they have a tender moment together before Elrond takes a look up Durin's hole.
Give me the meat and give it to me raw.
Durin, I came.
However, like all forbidden romances, it has to come to an end.
I can explain.
Enough!
She's the elf.
Durin tells his dad to shut up because you don't understand my new lifestyle, and the king disowns him.
Leave it. It's not yours anymore.
Wait, Poppy? What are you doing? You can't eat all those fucking apples.
Fuck you, I can't eat all these apples.
Eat all those apples, you're gonna get a wicked bad tummy ache.
Oh no, but what's this? Bigfoot has arrived. Also, legs. Feminem is hot on the trail. She hasn't even had time to wash her nasty ass fingers. Look, there's a river just there. You put your hands in water, give them a quick wipe. No? Okay, maybe later. They are hot on the trail of Gandalf, or I guess maybe Saruman, maybe some people will say that in the comments. But Nori can't help but interfere, revealing their position.
He went that way. Go on now. Leave her alone!
You heard her.
Kind of wondering at this point if we've ever seen fire be hot. Oh, there you go. Nice. So apparently the spooky girl wizards are actually good. And finally, the evil Harfoots are being punished for their crimes against humanity, abandoning people to the wolves, leaving them for bees, and stealing their wheels.
Take their wheels and leave them.
Isn't it nice when the bad guys get what's coming to them? Isildur's dad tries to get his girlfriend to come back to Númenor, but she doesn't want to go, so they release it to the wild. You know, so we can find Isildur and then bring him back in the next episode or something. You know, just like Aragorn did in Lord of the Rings. Remember that? Remember Lord of the Rings?
I should never have pulled the elf on board. I should have left her in the sea where I found her.
Yes. Yes, you should have. Because...
The sea is always right!
The sea is always right!
The Queen Regent. Is she here?
Betrayer. In truth, it was I who was betrayed.
Galadriel, you dare speak to me?
So the Queen doesn't want anyone to know that she's blind and is wearing a blindfold to hide this?
That doesn't make sense.
The Queen is big mad though, and she's bringing back armies of Numenor to fight the Orcs.
Vengeance is mine.
but they're taking most of their army back with them. Shouldn't they just leave most of them at the garrison? That way they don't need to feed all the people on the ship ride back to Numenor? Oh well, what are you worried about? Don't think about it. Gelfrodo's dad gives a Harfoot propaganda speech.
We're Harfoots, better than any creature in all Middle-earth. We stay true to each other with our hearts even bigger than our feet.
Now, I really do have to ask, do the writers truly believe that the Harfoots are a true and honest society that are kind to each other? I mean, if they wrote this and they really think that, then that really goes a long way to explain everything else in this show. What absolute poppycock.
It would be grand if you weren't right all the time. Doesn't matter anyway, we're all gonna die.
Well, I certainly hope so.
Halbrand.
I thought you were dead.
I was.
So apparently this wound needs elvish medicine. Wait, is that man shaking a coconut? Where the hell did he get a coconut from?
We found them. Found them? The coconut's tropical. What do you mean? Well, this is a temperate zone.
Uncontent to even let one character in this show be good, we return to the dwarves. Disa, who was previously fine, is now a thief.
What's a thief?
A Sith.
That's a pretty nasty list you have there.
And together we will rule this mountain and all others before our time is done. That Mithril belongs to us.
The leaf falls through the cavern, making so much noise it wakes the Balrog.
You serious?
Fuck trees. Oh look, it's Adar, and I'm generally glad that he's okay. But Adar has noticed the text on screen. What? It's good to laugh, but for the wrong reasons. What is this video game transition? Are they going to a new zone or something? Oh my god, who approved this? I really hope they do this for Sauron's reveal next week. With just 1 week to go before the conclusion, we fade to black. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss next week's epic twists in the finale. And be sure to let me know what your favourite part was of this episode in the comments. And I'll see you next time. Previously on Rings of Power.
Give me the meat and give it to me raw.
Durin, I came.
I can explain.
Enough!
Twas a dark and stormy night, or a day whatever. Probably Gandalf is searching for people, but what's this? That's not Girl Frodo at all. Feminem and the Thigh Inquisitors have bamboozled Wizard Man, which doesn't make a lot of sense because he's looking for people like him at this point, and he left the Harfoots alone. So why pretend to be one of them?
And the apple's one of those next.
But here comes the big reveal.
Haru Sauron.
You need to leave!
Oh no, I was wrong I guess. This is totally Sauron, no epic twists or anything. Halbrand must have really been a certified good boy all along. And speaking of Halbrand, last time we saw him, he was on death's door. Although still healthy enough to ride for 6 days and nights non-stop to this elven city, it seems.
What has happened?
Enemy lance. 6 days ago, we rode without rest. Can you help him?
How is it your path crossed with his? How is it you are here?
How is it that you are here? How is it that you are here? Is this mouse for real? Elrond literally works here. Galadriel, on the other hand, is supposed to be on the other side of the planet.
I should have never have set you on that ship. I should have trusted you.
Why? Why should she be trusted? Why does everyone just think she's right about everything?
I leapt from that ship, and when I surfaced, all I could do was swim and pray I had chosen wisely. I did not cross that bitter ocean, only to drown now.
I have missed you.
Why? How did Sauron brand? Wait, I guess he's confirmed Sauron. Wasn't he just in surgery? Is the infirmary right inside of Celebrimbor's blacksmithing tower? Or did he just climb all these stairs looking for Galadriel? Doesn't this get Celebrimbor's noggin jogging even a little bit about any of this? No? Nice workshop, I guess.
This is a peculiar ore. Have you tried combining it with other ores? Might there not be some alloy to amplify the qualities of your ore?
Well, that is an intriguing suggestion.
Call it a gift.
Back in Numenor, the king doesn't have long left. The greatest artisans from across the land have arrived to recreate his likeness for all those to remember. Wait, why is the milk truck here? Didn't she just become an apprentice like a week ago? Why on earth would she be here with the king? Why on earth would she be here alone with the king? Unless the king personally asked for her, which is exactly what I would have done in his position.
Huge tracts of land.
Gilgadaddy has arrived, and he's had enough of Galadriel's shit.
You should not be standing here at all.
Being the only one in the room to make any sort of sense, which is strange for his character, and saying exactly what I said in the last episode, that the elves should just leave. But oh no, what's this? Galadriel hasn't been right for at least 15 seconds, so she senses something suspicious about certified good boy Halbrand. Speaking of which, he's had about a half hour to recover from surgery, so he's ready to work in the blacksmith again, and gets to work with Killer Brimbor. But Detective Galadriel is on the case and sends off some random Vulcan to go check his 23andMe results. Back with Gandalf, I mean Sauron, it's really Sauron, guys. Feminem and the gals are trying to give the bad guy orientation, but something's wrong. The Harfoots are attempting to save not Gandalf, but are bamboozled by the hidden leaf substitution technique.
It's a trap!
Pew!
Wait, why did they even try to ambush the Harfoots anyway? Last time, they just teleported behind them and blew up their village. But I guess now they're a threat apparently? Are they just having fun here or something? Anyway.
Surprise, motherfucker!
Wait, what? Weren't you supposed to be dead?
I got better. Pew. Pew.
Pew. This pathetic siege ends now! Such flammable little insects!
Girl Frodo brings not Gandalf the staff, which she doesn't actually know has any magical powers because twice she's seen the real Slim Lady using fire without a staff, but no, this staff, that's the key to the magic. But anyway, it works.
From shadow you came, to shadow I bid you return.
What does that mean? From whence you came you shall remain, until you are complete again.
He is not Sauron. He is...
I'm good.
Hello, Good. I'm Dad. Good the Wizard uses the staff to send the baddies to the Shadow Realm, and everything worked out for everyone, except Sardok, who now remembers he's dying. Wait, why don't they just try asking Good to try healing them? I mean, I don't think he should be able to, but they did ask him to heal the apple trees, and he also healed himself, so why wouldn't they ask? Just don't think about it. What are you worried about? We get our 5th perfect time sunrise in as many episodes, and then it's back to the path of the betrayer.
It's 9. Stairs to main post.
Hardly a challenge.
You're doing well.
I'm blind, not deaf.
Over in Elfland, they were using a pressure cooker to try and force the Mithril together to make an alloy.
A massive explosion has torn through the
Iraqian,
killing at least 70 people and injuring more than 3,700.
The Mithril is proud. It refuses every effort to bond it with lesser ores.
This episode is actually called Alloyed, by the way, which is really a terrible name for a final episode of the first season of a billion-dollar project. It sounds like some Brit Bong narrator is explaining the politics of the world. Hello, 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 now see ya, the Numenorians are alloyed with the Southlanders, which is a right riffraff it is. But Galadriel has gotten back the DNA test on Halbrand and realizes...
You are not the father.
There is no king of the Southlands. The last man to bear your crest died over 1,000 years ago.
Huh, now you'd really think the Southlanders might have known that themselves. It's almost like carrying a keychain with the king's emblem on it doesn't automatically make you the king.
I told you I found this on a dead man.
He even said it!
Tell me your name.
I have had many names.
Wow, what a twist.
Not really.
Oh my god, they are literally shipping these two, aren't they? Well, rafting, but same difference. Sauron literally tells Galadriel that she did everything wrong since the start, which is true, and tells her that he just wanted to be a certified good boy in Numenor, which is true, but also reveals that he's not the only thirsty one in this show after drinking too much seawater.
I would make you a queen.
He promises baby, I can change. And because he was nice to her, she owes him a date. She refuses. This makes incel Ron big mad. Wait. Does that mean that it's now canon that if Galadriel had taken Sauron's V card, then Lord of the Rings would have never happened? Anyway, he runs away to be evil somewhere else. Galadriel is rescued by Elrond and she has an epiphany.
Galadriel, you're as wet as a river rock. Why?
Because I pulled her from the waters of the Glanduin.
Why? Where is Halbrand?
He is gone.
Why?
And I doubt he will return.
Why?
And should he ever, none of us are to treat with him again.
Why?
We must make 3.
Why 3?
Why?
1 will always corrupt.
Why?
2 will divide.
Why 3?
Powers we forged today.
Why?
2 rings? That's just silly. That would never work. But what about 2 rings plus 1? Now we're talking.
I need gold and silver of the most exquisite quality. I need gold and silver from Valinor.
Why?
Is there anyone who has suffered just as much as our Mouse Queen? Because apparently this is the only piece of metal from Valinor in an entire elf city inside a workshop of the greatest elven smith that contains the light of the Valinor and is untouched by darkness. Even though Sauron literally touched this back in Númenor and could have tainted it, but it's poetic, don't you see? She has to let go of her brother's dagger, memory, and thirst for vengeance, and move on to save others. The Harfoots, being locusts that have exhausted their supply of apples, are now moving on from the glade. But Girl Frodo has been infected by adventure, and she joins probably get, wait a minute.
There's a sweet smell on the air this way.
That line.
When in doubt, Eleanor Brandyfoot. Always follow your nose.
Always follow your nose.
But at last, it's finally time. The moment we've all been waiting for has come. Forging of the Rangs of Power. Wait, this is how they added the mithril? They just throw it in there and melt it? What were they using the pressure cooker for? Wouldn't just melting things together be the first thing they tried? Oh, sorry. I'll stop talking. It's time for the epic crafting scene.
We got a third competitor.
Wow, these gems look like shit. They didn't cut them at all, but okay. And it's kind of weird that one of them is silver since they all came from the same alloyance of metal. This is the crafting scene. Are you kidding me? We got this when we could have had this. Wait, how did Inselron get to Mordor? Did he teleport? You can't tell me he just walked there.
One does not simply walk into Mordor.
Fade to Black and Season 1 is finished. 8 episodes down, only 32 to go over another 4 seasons. But what can we look forward to next time, I wonder? Sauron will be like Walter White? Wait, what? Is he going to hook up with Jesse to cook Mithril?
You can't keep getting away with it!
Well, I guess we're going to have to wait another 2 years to find out. But before you go, I'm going to have to ask people to stop subscribing to me. Did you know that literally 200% of my viewers subscribe to the channel? Well, they don't. It's really 10%. Change this right now by clicking that button, and I'll see you next time.